TNA Wrestling crossed that line again as we get ever closer to Unbreakable. In a couple of weeks' time, WrestleMania week on a Wednesday night for all yous keeping track of the wrestling we've got coming up. But do not forget, it's all going to be live on that TNA Plus app. So get it downloaded, get subscribed, and make sure you're catching the action that is on TNA. Now, of course, there was some news that come out about TNA this coming week, and a lot of releases, shall we say. One of them in particular caused a massive stir on social media. That release of Gail Kim. Obviously, Gail Kim, a stalwart of TNA, massive, very popular figure within that company. Caused a bit of a stir between the people on the roster as well, with the tweeting out. Look, I will say exactly what I've said about when Scott D'Amore left TNA. And look, the fact of the matter is this: it's business. It happens. Restructuring happens. People do lose their jobs during a restructuring. It is one of those things that happens. I know there was rumors that WWE had a say and all of this jazz. I don't believe that for a minute. Um, but like I said, unpopular decisions are made during this time, and it is what it is. That there's nothing else you can really say on it. He's not going to change the fact that she's gone. She's going to be missed. There's no doubt about it. She was a legendary figure within TNA, and as unpopular as that decision may be, what I will say is that TNA will continue to do great stuff. And they'll continue to carry on selling out arenas, putting on some great shows with their partnership with the WWE. Everything will be fine in TNA world. So I get the frustration, I get the annoyance, I get the concern, but TNA wrestling will be absolutely fine, just like they was when Scott D'Amore left. And I know there's been a couple of other changes within the higher ups there, but it is what it is. It's business. Restructuring happens, and it happens. And Gail Kim will be just fine. She will find somewhere else as well, and she'll be brilliant wherever she goes. That is without question. Now, on the flip side of this, one of the maybe last things that Gail Kim done, a new knockout has signed for TNA, that being Maggie Lee. Really looking forward to seeing more of her as we go on. Don't know too much about her, if I'm honest with you. I know the signing was very positively received on social media by fans and peers alike. So should be good time. I think she was on Explosion a couple of weeks ago. So look, great signing. Well, should be a good signing for TNA. Looking forward to seeing her more on Impact as we go forward. Obviously, Impact tapings are tonight. There is meant to be on tonight's taping a groundbreaking announcement from Santino Marella. So next week when we come on, we'll know what that announcement is, and that will be 2 weeks before Unbreakable, and Rebellion a couple of weeks after that as well. So there's a lot of action from TNA Wrestling. And speaking of action, that brings us nicely to the start. And the Elegances, Ash and Heather, were going against Tatum, Paxley, Gigi, Dolin. Uh, and this match has caused, again, a little bit of a stir on social media. There were people saying that this match wasn't really for them, and you know they're not, Ash and Heather ain't gelling as a team and whatnot. And I think, like, yeah, there was, I kind of understand that, but I think at the same time they're still, I know they've been together a while in a sense, but when you actually look at, they've not had too many matches together. They've had a lot with against Spitfire. I appreciate that, and and whatnot. But in terms of, like, it takes a while for teams to come together. So I'm not too concerned. I do understand where they're coming from, and Tatum Pace and Gigi Dolan did look like more of a team than what the Elegances did. I don't think they've been a team as long as what the Elegances have been. But then Gigi Dolan's always been a part of a faction. She was with Mandy Rhodes and Jacy Jayne, who we'll see later on in action against Masha Slamovich. So, look, you know, I understand I can understand the argument for it. And obviously, in this match, going back to it, the Iceman got involved. George, the concierge do get involved, and it looked like at one point in this that Tatum Paisley and Gigi Dolin were going to win the match until that happened from the concierge, and that allowed Ash to hit ratified air and pick up the victory for the Elegances. But you know what? I do understand I can understand the argument. Look, there is an argument for it about whether they're just a team and whether the match was and wasn't for them. And that's people's opinions, and you're absolutely entitled to it. I thought it was fine. I thought it was a good opener. Yes, it could have been better. But at the end of the day, like I said, Ash and Heather are still finding their feet as a team. And that's where we are with it. But they did win this match against Gigi Dolan and Tax and Paisley, and we move on Impact. But a good opener, in my opinion. Could have been better, could have been worse. But, as I said, I understand, where people are coming from on it. Now we go backstage at this point, and Leon Slater is in the main event. Our boy, the youngest in charge, you get me, takes on Nick Nemeth later on. And he was backstage, and he was just basically, got a few feelings. He's not quite sure what to think. He's like, it won't just be a match, it's going to be a fight. And he said that Nemeth shocked the world at Sacrifice when he betrayed the Hardys, but Leon will show Nick what the Hardys taught him, and he will answer to the new Lord of Extreme, and he will get his back tonight. So, yeah, Leon, he's just tremendous. He really is, and I really do. Massive things. He's an absolute star, superstar already. And TNA will indeed, he will hit gold in TNA without question. There is no doubt about it. Now we're in El Paso, Texas, and if you remember last week, Chavo Guerrero was with First Class for a little bit in the penthouse segment, which ended up them getting a six-man tag. They were Chavo and the Aztec Warriors against First Class and the King of TNA, Frankie Kazarian, who still has the opportunity to cash in for the championship at any point. This was a fun one. I like this. Chavo Guerrero can still go. It was in El Paso. The crowd are with him as well. There was a lot of feel-good moments about this, and there were so many throwbacks. He hasn't lost a step, and it absolutely delivered. I do like the team of Aztec and Laredo Kid as well. That's one that's definitely one to watch out for. But Chavo Guerrero in this was absolutely brilliant, and it was him that scored the pinfall. He hit KC Navarro with a frog splash to get the pinfall, and KC's young. It should be a good thing for him. That's kind of a rub in a lot of ways, taking a pinfall defeat from Chavo Guerrero. I would say Frankie Kazarian on the losing end again. He's gonna have to start picking up some momentum soon to take him seriously. For when he does eventually cash that shot in. So yeah, him losing right now, I'm not, I don't know, I'm not too worried, but I do think that he's gonna need to start picking up some momentum at some point, ahead of that cash in. But seeing Chavo Guerrero, El Paso crowd, everything about it was, that feel good moment for TNA, which you need every now and again, and he certainly delivered on that one. What was next, though, was a very chilling promo from Rosemary. She hasn't finished with Zaya Brookside yet, and whew, you know what? It's I don't know how they're going to end up finishing their feud, them two, but Rosemary is she's one out of a freaky cat, that's for sure. But Zaya was such a great up and comer, and she's getting better and better and better, and the more that she's on, and we keep saying that with TNA about those talents that keep getting better as you see him every week. AJ Francis is a key bit of that. Even Ash by Elegance is a prologue to that, and she's gonna have a work harder because Rosemary's pissed. So she's not the type of person you want to see down a dark alley or peering through your window of a night time. That is for sure. But nevertheless, Rosemary is definitely not finished with Zaya Brookside just yet. With that being said, we go backstage to Santino Marella now. He's got an unenviable job at this point. He's getting in between Sami Callihan and Mance Warner. They both are in handcuffs, which I can't say I'm surprised at this point. He said in Santino was like, if you guys weren't in handcuffs, one of you would be leaving in a body bag, and which, to be fair to Santino, that's probably a fair reflection of what would happen. Um, and you look, Santino was just like, what have we got to do here just to bring this to an end? And he said that Sammy was like, Mence doesn't belong in TNA, he belongs in jail with the rest of his family. And Mence said, look, I've come in, I've kicked the door down of TNA, I've done everything I said I'm gonna do. And it obviously reminds Sami Callihan that he beat him, to which Sami Callihan reminded that he cheated, which was quite a funny bit. And Santino says he does have an announcement about the Digital Media Championship, but both men need to promise they won't damage any more TNA property. Sami Callihan refuses and calls Steph Delander a skank, which is brilliant. And Delander ends up throwing a drink in his face, and everyone had to be separated. I don't know what the fuck they're going to do with these two. They're going to have to do a Monsters Ball or something crazy like that, because them two, Delanda as well. I mean, she played her role in this. I hope her neck is healing up nice as well. Obviously, she had that neck injury, last year that cost her quite a bit of time, and she hasn't really competed since that yet. So hopefully, the neck's healing up nicely. She's not going about it the right way though, because Callahan is just the type of guy to end up breaking her neck again if they need to. But I don't know what's going to happen with these. Santino, you got to sort it out, man. Come on, get something going on between them two. But we'll see what happens, as Unbreakable is coming just around the corner. So maybe something will happen between those two then. Knockouts Championship next. There is an argument to say this should have been the main event, to be fair. This was Masha Slamovich, Jacy Jayne for the Knockouts Championship. You know, I think with this, yeah, I'm kind of in agreement that this probably Leon and Nick Nemeth. I'll give it. Look, anything with Leon Slater in, is main event material. So, but I just think with the fact that the championship was on the line, I get why people were saying this should have main evented, and it was a great, great, great title match. To be fair, and Masha is just really carrying on when Jordan Grace left. In terms of match quality, everything that she's done so far has gone into gold. Was there any doubt that she was going to lose? I'm not too sure. Obviously, there is a bigger picture here, that being Tessa Blanchard, and we'll get to that in a minute. But Jacy Jayne, if anything, proved here that she can hang with some of the best wrestlers. I mean, Slamovich is an awesome wrestler. You could put her in the ring against pretty much anybody, and she will hold her own, and if not, beat them. So I think, if anything, Jacy Jayne's proved she can go with the rest. Slamovich did indeed pick up the victory here with her finish. What I would say after, as I mentioned, Tessa Blanchard. Now, she ended up attacking Slamovich from behind. And eventually, Zaya Brookside and Lei Ying Lee come out and chased her off. Yeah, I do think, like I said, Jacy Jayne in this, she shined a lot more than what she does gets a chance to in NXT as well. So I think even after the beating that Tessa Blanchard gave Slamovich at the end, and the fact that Slamovich beat Jacy Jayne, both those competitors come out of that match looking really strong. And that's important. And I think Jacy Jayne may have just opened up, may have raised a few eyebrows of her performance here, and with the guys at NXT, because is she getting underlooked in NXT? That's a fair, and this is the benefit of this whole partnership, yeah, because some of the people would say, oh, well, Jacy Jayne should be a champion and Gigi Dolin should be a champion, and they're not getting the opportunities. Well, here we go. This is a prime example of the partnership working, and working very, very well indeed, if you ask me. Slamovich retaining. There is going to be, at some point, she's going to face Blanchard. There's no doubt about it. It's just a case of where and when. And we'll probably find out very, very soon. And speaking of very soon, that's when the next match very started. We went quite quickly into Eric Young and Ace Austin. And what I love, anyone that faces Eric Young, right, is gonna get is well, to be honest, anyone that's fortunate to face Eric Young is going to learn a lot in there. And Ace Austin, is, despite being a very much, he's not exactly a spring, he's been around, but when you get to face someone of the experience of Eric Young, you will learn in that ring. And that's what I really liked in this. The bottom line with this is the numbers game. Obviously, Eric Young with the Northern Armory, that did indeed cost Ace Austin the match. The interference of the Northern Armory allowed Eric Young to hit a power driver on Ace and end up picking up the victory. And the numbers game, you get it. I think that's my kind of slight critique with TNA at the minute is there's too much of that numbers game. When there's a system match, they always get involved. When there's a Northern Armory thing it happened with the concierge in the start, and I just kind of like. I just kind of want a match, sometimes without having all of the shenanigans that happen. And the other thing I would say, and I think I said this the other week, actually. I mean, I've even said this last week that there needs to be a direction for Ace Austin. I appreciate the stuff with Chris Bay. And by the way, if you saw the Chris Bay fundraiser last weekend, it was fantastic to see him walk into the ring and doing everything that he says. But I think there needs to be a direction for Ace Austin at the moment. And that's what's missing right now. He seems a bit directionless and just like, we'll put him here, we'll put him there. I would like to see them invest in him a bit more and get into a meaningful program with somebody. Hopefully that will happen. I'm sure it will. He's had some matches where he's teamed with the Hardys and whatnot. And yeah, I would like to. I would like to see something there. And we'll wait and see what happens. Now, with that, out comes the TNA champion Joe Hendry. He said he will defend that championship against anyone from any company. And all they got to do is call Santino to set the match up. And funnily enough, Elijah appeared, the artist formerly known as Elias, and he said that, instead of challenging him, he sings "You've Got a Friend in Me" with the guitar. And that's, quite interesting. I have a feeling with this, with Elijah. Funnily enough, just let me just finish off with what happened. Frankie Kazarian come out, said nobody wants to see all this nonsense. He hates both of them. They're no accomplished musicians. Real men play the bass guitar. And that's when Kazarian tries to break out into a concert of his own. He tries to pit Hendry against Elijah, but they don't fall for it, and they end up beating up Kazarian instead. But what I would say about that is that there was a point where Elijah nearly hit Joe Hendry with the guitar. Now, this is what I'm going to get to, my belief, because Elijah is a far better heel than he is a face. And my belief is that we will eventually see Elijah turn on Joe Hendry and compete against Joe Hendry for the World Heavyweight Championship. That's where I think we're going in the future with this. But until then, it's good to see him on the same page. And Kazarian again, he's a slight criticism. And look, I got to review what I see. And I know we get TNA talent and TNA give us talent. And we're very, very appreciative of that. We really are. We love the interviews that we get. But look, I've got to review this unbiasedly. And I just think right now, Kazarian, we've got Ace Austin, who's sort of, he's kind of in the middle of nothing, just plodding around. Kazarians have got an opportunity for this championship at any point. And I just think that, is he really needing to do that? I get it. He's trying to get Elijah and Joe Hendry to go against each other, and maybe that will happen. So maybe this is going to have a story to it. But he didn't get the pin. He didn't take the pin, but he lost to 6-man. He then comes out and he's a bit of, he's a bit silly, and it's just like, this is the guy that's potentially got the best chance of winning the championship off Joe Hendry, considering he can cash this in whenever he wants, and you're kind of making him look a bit silly. But look, who knows, right? That is it. Like I said, it's unbiased. It is one of those things, and I'm biased with this, and I will say what I think. And look, I'm hopefully that they appreciate the fact that I'm actually critiquing it and not, just giving it always praising it. Because generally, generally I do praise it because generally I enjoy stuff, but you gotta, there's things that they can do a bit better. And I feel as if that something with Kazarian, he is as I said, the briefcase holder or the gauntlet holder, whatever you want to call it. So let's, cut him a bit slack. So maybe not. But let's get into it. We're in the main event. Now, look, I said earlier on that Masha and Jacy Jayne maybe should have main evented this. To be fair, I probably underdone this main event. It was Nick Nemeth, Leon Slater. It was brilliant. I loved it. I loved this match. It was so good. But again, I'm in a bit where I've got to critique it. In Did it need Ryan Nemeth to interfere? I just feel like if you look at the matches on this card, how many of them had interference? 3 out of the 4 had interference in it. And even one of them that didn't have interference in it had a post-match attack from Tessa Blanchard. I'm hoping you're going to agree with what I'm saying here. Does everything really need to be that, does anything really need to have that much interference in it? I don't know. Maybe I'm just old and stupid and whatever, but I just don't think it needed it. The match was great. And I get it, you got to keep Leon strong because as I said before, he's an absolute star, but he could have lost. Him losing to Nick Nemeth cleanly wouldn't have hurt him in the slightest. Did it? I just don't think it needed it. And it annoyed me that it had that interference in it. It really did. And it's such a shame. But it was a really, really great match. The interference from Ryan Nemeth caused Nick Nemeth to hit the danger zone and beat Leon Slater. There was another post-match beatdown in this, which the Hardys come out and helped Leon. And the Hardys have challenged the Nemeth brothers to a tag team championship match at Rebellion on the 27th, I think that is. And apologies if I've got that wrong. Of April, I believe that is correct. Yes, I'm right. I hope and that brought an end to an Impact. Do you know what? Like, this is one of the first times like I've had a mixed bag this week. I thought the in-ring action was great. There was an enhancement of a couple of important storylines to keep things moving. I enjoyed that. I just think we've got to stop so much interference or, just think of another way because it just seems the easy route out sometimes. And like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed it. The in-ring action for the most part was great. And like I said, we got a few storyline enhancements, but does every match need interference? It was the only letdown this week for me. There's just too much interference in these matches. But look, that was another week of TNA, and we're getting closer to Unbreakable. Some stuff will happen there. Now, next week on TNA, just bear with me 1 second while I bring up my picture where I've got the stuff that's going on next week on TNA. So we have the Hardy Boys. They will speak next week. It'll be interesting to see what they got to say. Frankie Kazarian versus Elijah. Be a good match next week. Shouldn't have any interference in that of any luck. Steve Macklin will be in action next week. Tessa Blanchard, Jacy Jayne, and a mystery partner will go against the TNA Knockouts champion, Masha Slamovich, Zaya Brookside, and Lei Ying Lee, which is a lot easier now I know her name properly. And finally, Santino Marella will make a groundbreaking announcement. If anything needs you to get in that TNA Plus app and getting that downloaded and subscribed and get that championship package, it's right there, folks. Next week's Impact is shaping up to be a great one just 2 weeks before Unbreakable, April 17th on that TNA Plus app. You can keep it locked right here at HTT Buckle on X, HTT Buckle on YouTube, hitting the Turnbuckle podcast on all other social media networks. Coming up next week, We will have the top 10 returning with Dart Star Paul Nicholson. We recorded this week our WrestleMania special with the coach, Jonathan Coachman. That will come out in a couple of weeks. A big thanks to the coach. That was an awesome, awesome interview. Guys, just keep it locked, keep it subscribed, and there'll be so much more coming up on the channel very, very soon. We thank you all for watching. But until next time, everybody, cross the line, stay safe, and goodbye.